Hey, I'm Joe Brown.
And I'm Robert Russian.
And we're the Old Government Guys. Old Government Guys is a podcast where we seek to highlight ordinary feds who do extraordinary things and shed light on and recognize your friends, family, and neighbors who comprise the government workforce. Too often, their work goes unnoticed, and we want to put a face on the fellow feds and share with you their stories and accomplishments in a fun and respectful way.
Hey, Old Government Guy Robert here. Welcome to episode 11. In this episode, I'll be sitting down with former federal court clerk Robert Dennis, and he'll tell us a little bit about his career as a federal court clerk. Robert is also a survivor of the April 19th bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. Later in the show, Dr. Tim McWilliams will share one of his funny stories. And welcome to episode 11. Hey, Old Government Guy Robert here, and today I've got the pleasure of interviewing another old government guy whose name is also Robert. And Robert, you said you had mentioned to me you have about 42 years of service, including your military experience.
Right.
Yeah. So today, if you don't mind, could you just talk a little bit about your federal career? Kind of, you can do it chronologically, you can do it by jobs. Just share with us a little bit about what you've done, and then I'll ask you some questions as we go along.
Okay. Well, I see. I started, I guess, with Oklahoma State University. I graduated in forestry from Oklahoma State University, and I had developed an interest, I guess, when I was in undergraduate school about law. I had a class in business law up there, and I kind of decided I don't want to go to law school. So anyway, when I graduated, the draft got after me real quick. Had deferred until you graduated. And so I started looking for a unit to get in because I wanted to go to law school. So I got in Army Reserves, Chilocco Indian School, and went off, and I had to wait for my orders, for basic training, and went to basic training in the Army, and then got out in January, I think, of about 86, and then I got married that month, latter part of that month, and got married, and then perchance I had an opportunity to get in the Air National Guard. Met a friend of mine. Anyway, I ended up going into the Air National Guard as a navigator. Got a commission.
Oh, wow.
And then they sent me to navigator school. And and I was married then, so we both went out to Mather Air Force Base and then came back and then went to law school, Oklahoma City University, night law school. And one of my navigator partners, his brother was an assistant district attorney downtown. He said they have jobs down there working for the court. And they take the law students and they can be a courtroom deputy, and then you go to night law school. So I said, well, yeah, I'd be interested. So I took that job, became a courtroom deputy to Judge Charles Owens. He was the state county district judge. And of course, I worked for the court clerk, Dan Gray, at the time. So anyway, went to law school at night and worked 40 hours a week during the day at the courthouse. Learned a lot just being around trials and hearings and, attorneys. And so anyway, I graduated from law school. And my first job, I had worked for a month or two, I guess, with the Oklahoma Department of Oil and Gas. I forgot the name of the agency, but I just worked a few months. And then I transferred over to the Oklahoma Highway Patrol Legal Division. And we were primarily enforcing the implied consent law of Oklahoma.
Okay.
And we had 5 or 6, 7 of us. We would travel in pairs. We'd go all over the state, but where somebody's arrested for drunk driving, we would go conduct an administrative hearing. And then one would be the prosecutor and one would be the judge to decide the case. And then if it got appealed, they could appeal that administrative decision to the district court, and whoever was prosecutor would have to go into the state court to argue the case. And so anyway, got to travel all over the state, see all the courts throughout the state. And my wife, she wanted me. She worked for the I think it was the Navy out at Will Rogers Airport. Anyway, she wanted me to go work for the federal government, and I said, "Well, I'm not. I wasn't making much money, but I said, well, I'm having fun anyway." She said, "Well, I think federal government has better benefits and better pay," and I said, "Well, if you want me to work for them, you can make application." And you remember the old Form 91?
Oh,
Was that the name of it? The
SF.
multi-page.
Yes.
Ask everything.
Yeah.
It
Your
was
favorite color.
very detailed.
Right.
81 or something, whatever that form was. It was government application form. And I said, well, if you fill it out, she could do the smart typewriter thing. And I said, and so she did. She went over to OPM office somewhere in Oklahoma City and got a listing of all the federal agencies that hired attorneys. And she filled out the applications, and I signed them and sent them off. I didn't even know where they were going. I wasn't too interested in it. And I got a call one day from Small Business Administration that said, "Are you still interested?" I said, "Yeah." I didn't even know who SBA was and what they did. And they said, "Well, could you come in for an interview?" And I said, "Yeah." So anyway, I went in and got the job as an assistant district counsel of SBA. And that started my federal career. And very fortunate, the district director at the time was a guy named Truman Branscombe, and the district counsel was Robert Ball, and he was quite a character. That was my direct boss, and I was very fortunate to have him as my boss. And he later became the district director.
Okay.
And then I stepped up to his job as the district attorney. So anyway, and I served I guess I worked for SBA for about 9 years, something like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I had I remember we had a district directors meeting of our region SBA at Fountainhead Lodge, and my boss asked me, Robert Ball, who was also an attorney, he was former district counsel, and then he moved up to district director. But he asked me if I could get we have 3 federal districts in Oklahoma, northern, eastern, and western districts. And one of them was had been a problem. They just didn't get the cases of SBA. It just kind of stalemated and sit there and had a lot of problems. But then they had a new U.S. attorney in Northern District, a guy named Frank Keating, who later became the governor.
Yeah.
But Frank Keating came in, and I mean, I had the assistant U.S. attorneys up there calling me, asking me for cases because they said he's going to cut attorney staff because we don't have enough cases. I mean, they started really moving. And anyway, my boss, Robert Ball, asked if I could have one of the U.S. attorneys speak at this conference we had at Fountainhead Lake for all the district directors in our region. It was several states: Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, New Mexico, I think, were in that region. So I said, well, this Keating guy, I'll see if I can get him. So I called him and he said, yeah, he'd do it. So he came out and spoke about the U.S. Attorney's Office, and he said something about how that used to be really political. New U.S. attorney come in, they just clean house. I mean, everybody, different party, they would just change it over. But they started changing it, trying to make it more permanent, and they wouldn't, you just couldn't get rid of somebody for political reasons. So things are changing, and he talked about what their salary was for assistant U.S. attorneys, and I thought, sounded good. I mean, they were more than I was making. So anyway, after that, I remember I had a couple of assistant attorneys working for me, and they had an opening for assistant U.S. attorney, and both of them applied, and I knew they had applied. They'd asked me about it, and I said, sure. So anyway, I got a call one day from the U.S. attorney that said, could I come over and talk? And I said, yeah, I'd come over. So went over, and I thought he was going to ask me which one of those two guys
had applied,
would be better and so forth. So anyway, he said, well, I've been asking around the office, who would be a good person. We need a civil division lawyer, and I've asked around, and your name keeps coming up, and would you consider coming assistant U.S. attorney? I said, well, I hadn't even thought about it, but yeah, I'd be glad to do it. So anyway, I finally agreed. So I became assistant U.S. attorney for the Western District. And then, I think I was there for about 3 years. And then the opening came for district court clerk. And so I thought about it, and I was just run ragged in the U.S. Attorney's Office. I mean, we had an overload of Social Security appeals, and it was just impacting us. And we were condemning the property up in Arcadia Lake.
Yep.
We were into that pretty heavy, and I was just ragged, and I decided I'm going to apply for that clerkship, and I did. And anyway, ended up getting it, and then I was court clerk for I don't know how many years, but till the end. I had 42 years government service. I had a couple 3 years military service in there.
Good deal.
So
so could you just, I have no idea what a court clerk does. I mean, could you kind of summarize that a little bit about?
Well, I guess a court clerk would be like you've got all these federal judges you work for, and it's kind of, I guess, like maybe a hospital administrator.
Okay.
You're not a doctor, but you administer all the medicine and all the rooms and hospitals, and you got to make sure all of that works.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the court. You're kind of the chief administrator, and the judges, of course, are doing their job of hearing cases and deciding legal matters, and they leave all the administration pretty much up to the court clerk. Of course, I'm under their direction, so I have to do what they decide.
Maybe an equivalent on the Air Force side. We had mission support. Right?
Yes, yeah. It'd be very similar.
So the pilots fly the planes, and we do everything else.
You do everything else. Get it, fueled, and get it.
Fuel, logistics, parts.
All that's necessary, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so looking back at your career, is there a particular project or like an initiative or something that you were part of that you kind of look back on and say, I'm glad that I did that?
I guess, yeah, I suppose. When I took over as court clerk, we were in an office on the third floor. Internal Revenue Service had the whole first floor of the courthouse and a little bit of the second floor. Big agency, lots of people. And we were running out of space. We needed new courtrooms. We needed chambers. We needed court clerk's office. We had little cubicles all over the building. And I remember one of the first times I met with General Services Administration. Told them we got to have more space. And anyway, within a few years, they were able to move IRS out of the building, and then we took over all that space. So we moved the clerk's office, and then we built, I don't know how many courtrooms and chamber space, and it was what we call a prospectus project.
Yep,
over 10 million at that time. It was over 10 million, I think. So prospectus, it was a big deal, but we got her done. And
absolutely. Yeah, I've dealt with a couple of prospectus level.
Had to go to had to be congressionally approved.
Right. Yeah, light on approved.
Yeah.
Well, good deal. That aligns a lot with a lot of the folks who are listening in.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, if you want to make someone angry or get them excited, talk about their housing, their pay, or their space.
Yeah.
Space is one of those passionate projects. Right?
Yeah.
Passionate topics. Yeah. So
we always had this, we were a tenant, GSA on the building.
That's right.
We had to go through them to get anything done. So we're always battling and arguing, but we had overall most of the GSA folks I had good working relationships with. Yeah.
That's where they run out of. They were run out of Dallas, maybe. Is that the?
Yeah, the main office was in Dallas. The regional office, I guess, was in Dallas, and we had a state director. And
Heck yeah. We had mentioned a couple of names. Yeah, we'll cut that out. Yeah, you had mentioned a couple of names in your career. Is there someone that you look back at? Could be military, could be your time as a civilian, and it doesn't have to be one person where you kind of say, this person either really helped you with your career or you wanted to model your career after. Maybe they influenced you in a way that cascaded down through how you led.
Yeah, I think probably. I guess my first real boss was the district council of SBA, Robert Ball, and he was my first real boss when I was out of law school. And I remember I'd go to him with a question. I was just out of law school, and I'd say, "Hey, Bob, I got this case, and it's a foreclosure, and and I started asking him, what should I do?" And he'd just look at me and say, "Well, you're the attorney.
Yeah.
Go figure it out." It's like, well, so I'd go back to my desk and think, he's not going to help me. And he had a lot of experience, but it's like, well, you go figure it out. You're the attorney. So I go back and I do what I thought was necessary. But one thing about him is, if you make a mistake, he didn't mind.
Yeah.
He just said, "Well, that's how you learn." And he said, one thing about it, everybody makes mistakes, and you'll make a mistake. But if you make the same mistake twice, then I'll need to talk to you.
Yeah.
But he was good about that. He just supported whatever decision. It might have been wrong, but he said, "Well, that you decided wrong on this one.
Yeah.
But just don't do it again."
Don't do it again.
Yeah. But I think, and he was a former navigator in the Air Force in World War II. And so I think actually when I put on my resume that I was a navigator of the Air Force, I think that's probably what he caught his eye.
Yeah.
And because, when he hired me, we we'd be going to lunch, and he'd hand me his Sanderson flight computer.
Yep. Yeah.
He'd hand it to me and say, "Here, Nav, what's our ETA for the restaurant?" So I'd give him an ETA, but he really, we really identified with that former military navigator position, and I think that's probably what he hired me for. Yeah. And I think too, in that interview with Bob Ball and the district director was Truman Branscombe, and I remember that interview, and they asked me, they said, if you went home and told your wife, I just got the job of my dream, I mean, this is the job I was always, what job would that be? I thought about it, and I thought, well, I guess I would like to be an aide to a U.S. senator to kind of make suggestions about policy and issues, and other than maybe if I won the election as a senator. I mean, I'd like to be a senator, but other than that, if I just got a job as an aide to a senator, well, I get to be a part of it. And I think both of them were political people, and I think that got their attention. So I think that's kind of why I got hired. But I was very fortunate to have Robert Ball as my mentor, and he and I stayed friends for his life.
Yeah,
and we had different political views, political party views, but a few times we got sort of locked horns, but we generally got along very well, and he just was. I was very fortunate to have him as a mentor.
Good deal. And having a good mentor matters. You can do it alone. You can build a good career on your own, but it's easier when you've got someone that can kind of help point you along the way. Yeah. So can I ask you about April 19th?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So for those who are from Oklahoma, that's one of our dates that kind of hits everyone very personally. And so you were in the Alfred P. Murrah building on the morning of April 19th. Can you just tell us a little bit about kind of that day and how you think back on that day years later?
Well, as I mentioned earlier about working with GSA, and we had several projects going on in the court at the time, construction courtroom, construction chambers, and one thing and another. And I went over we had a meeting with GSA in the Murrah building, first floor, at their offices, the state director. So I was in his office, and I think there was 6, 7 of us. They were all GSA folks, and me talking about different projects and things. And the meeting was over right before 9, right around 9 o'clock. And so the district director, Don Rogers, he needed to go back over to the courthouse, and where I was going back to my office. And he said, I'll just walk with you. We'll go over there together. So he and I walked together, got to the elevators at the center part of the building.
Yep.
And we were just standing there, and that's when the bomb went off. And all I remember is just hearing the explosion, and everything went black, and stuff was happening all around me, but I couldn't see. And I remember after I don't know how long, but shortly after, I remember yelling for Don, and he was yelling back. We couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
And I remember to get to him, and we were just going by voice because you couldn't see anything. But I remember climbing over stuff, bumping into stuff, and climbing around. And we finally held hands. We just kind of felt our way out. And I kind of thought, I guess at the moment I thought there was a boiler or something next to us blew up, and I had no idea what it was. And I kind of thought we were going out the front door. We were couldn't really see anything, and so we were struggling along there, and finally it kind of opened up and you could see just a little bit, and it was starting to settle. And actually we were moving toward the west end of the building. And I remember there was a couple ladies that we found along the way. They were crying and, bewildered like we were, but I saw kind of a light in the distance, so we kind of just gravitated toward that light, and that turned out to be the door on the dock of the west end of the Murrah building. So we got out there, and that's where we went out. And then I ran back over to courthouse, check on the folks there, and of course they all the windows were shattered. There was a lot of damage, and everybody had evacuated the building by the time I got there. And front doors were just all shattered. The court security officers were there, and it was just a mangled mess. It looked like the bomb had gone off there, but and then I saw a lot of the employees and judges and people that I knew, and they looked at me. They said, "Well, they said I looked like Casper the Ghost."
Wow.
Because I had red eyes. My eyes were bloodshot, and I had this dust all over and it was all gray. My hair, face, and everything was just a gray ash because of all that ash that had fallen on me. And then my eyes were red, so people said I looked like Casper the Ghost. And anyway, they told me I ought to go find an ambulance somewhere because I was coughing and couldn't see very well, and so I ended up getting with another one of my employees there, and her daughter was picking her up and going to meet her somewhere, and so we met her, and then she drove out to the hospital, Baptist Hospital, and there I was checked out and later released, and made it back home. It was somebody that she knew that had a car, and so he lived in Edmond. I lived in Edmond at that time, so he said, "I'll take you home." So he took me home. I got with my family, and so
that's my first big memory of Oklahomans really coming together.
Yeah.
We
had one of the girls in my office, her daughter was 19-month-old daughter, J.C. Ray Coyne, was killed. And, we had that to deal with. But, a lot of people, it's a lot of the people in the Murrah building. When I worked for Small Business Administration, it was in the Murrah building.
Right.
So we were one of the first agencies to move into the Murrah building when they opened it. And so I knew people in the credit union, I knew people in a snack bar, and people with HUD, and then the DEA and the different agencies knew. And you look back on it and you wish that you would have. I saw that they were killed in the bombing, and I think, and you read something about them and you think, well, I didn't know that about them. I wished I had have been able to visit with them,
learn more,
talk with them. But yeah, lots of people that I knew. I'd worked there for, gosh, many years, so I knew lots of people.
And you had mentioned a second ago that, like, the court building is nearby, and so it was also damaged with the bombing, and it was just a crazy scene and time in Oklahoma City.
Well, and you would have thought the bomb went off in the federal courthouse building because the ceilings had come down, stuff was hanging down, and I remember seeing a fire extinguisher in the wall, a big metal box that's in the wall.
Yeah.
And it had been pulled out, the suction from the bomb blast.
Right.
It wasn't so much the blast, but the suction that came after pulled that whole box out of the wall. And I thought, wow. And I think one of our court security officers was up front at the front door, and he ended up out in the street. It pulled him out, out into the street. And we had a lot of damage. Courtrooms, ceilings, tiles, and stuff had fallen. And just two weeks to see. That was on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
The bombing was on a Wednesday, and the Friday following, the week after the bombing, we had a naturalization ceremony in the court. We have those monthly.
Yep.
And we had damage in the courtroom, and I had talked to the chief judge about canceling, and he thought we ought to cancel it, and I called INS about canceling. We have a ceremony where judges come in and talk to the new citizens, and then I would get up and give them the oath of allegiance.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's always a neat thing because those people are really excited about becoming a citizen.
Yep.
And we always try to have a speaker from the new class of citizens as to why they're becoming a U.S. citizen. Very, very moving. I mean, bring you to tears sometimes. And I was sitting there on that one a week after the bombing, and you could hear the trucks and the equipment next door at the Murrah building. They were still searching, still working. And here we are, and you can see the damage in the courtroom. And people, and I forgot who the speaker was, but we had a speaker talk about becoming a U.S. citizen, why they wanted to be a U.S. citizen. And I was thinking, gosh, the perpetrators of this was former military people. And it just strikingly, here are these people wanting to come to America, and these people, and it's just
still the largest act, unfortunately, of domestic terrorism.
Yes,
in the country's history.
We had we tried to cancel it, but I called INS, and they said there's no way. They had people from all over the state, and they said they had no way of notifying them. So we decided to go ahead and have it, which we did, but you couldn't get into the courthouse at that time. You had to go in through the bankruptcy building next door, come in and go up to the third floor, and there's a catwalk that goes across. And then you go down to the courtroom. And so anyway, we decided we'd just go ahead and do it, and people could come in that way. We had employees stationed to help direct people over to the courtroom. And so that's what we did. And it's quite a moving experience.
And you did that quite often?
Yeah, we did it once a month generally, and we had some special times. We had it up at Guthrie one time,
Yeah.
and we had them out at schools sometimes. And
I've got
different
goosebumps. You
places.
just talk because that's such a cool thing that was part of your career to read that oath of allegiance.
Well, it was
for all the new citizens. Yeah,
it was. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure to any legal prince, potentate, or state of whom or which I have heretofore been a citizen, subject, or citizen. Anyway, I almost got it memorized. I've said it so many times.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything that, and I think that story, because one of the things I like to do with this podcast is just try to, I don't say get the word out, but just federal employees are just regular people who work for the federal government. We're your friends and your neighbors. And unfortunately on that day, you lost some friends and neighbors in that bombing. But, just going back and looking at your career, in its entirety, is there anything that you would want to share with someone from like a taxpayer's perspective that, not every federal employee is out there, goofing off, but we've got a lot of folks who do a lot of important things. And I think something that is misunderstood unless you're in it is just the vast diversity of the federal mission, all the different agencies and what we actually do for our citizens.
Yeah, of course, being an attorney for Small Business Administration, I sort of ended up on the ones that went bad, and we had to go in court or something. But even then, it's a matter of some businesses made it and some didn't, and it was always sad. And I remember one lady I was talking to, and she had her business just didn't work out, and I was talking to her and said, well, I'd kind of suggested maybe bankruptcy. You may need to file bankruptcy to get out from under, and she just started crying and mascara was running, and she said, I cannot do that. I just don't want to file bankruptcy. I said, well, sometimes you just, it'd be your best. So, but some people, but you just have to but you have to treat everybody, but I think most of the people, and I know I did, I put in an extra hours. I mean, and if I have any regrets at all, it would be I worked too much. I spent too many hours, and I should have spent that with my kids and family. And but I felt I needed to do that.
It's like a calling, though.
It's a calling
when you're in it. I know.
Yeah, and but I did. I put in a lot of hours extra, and I think the public got their money's worth. At least I tried. I mean, I put in the hours. Not that I did it very competently, but
I hear you.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, I thank you for sitting down with me, and I appreciate you sharing the story, and I salute you for your service. And
thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right, everybody. Take care. Hey, Robert Rushing here, and I'm with my friend Bo Bloomer. He's with Checkmate Group.
Yeah.
And Bo's going to tell you about the services that he can help you with if you're looking to PCS.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Robert. We're a real estate team. We're here with Century 21 Redwood. We have offices all over Northern Virginia, DC, and Maryland. And we help people find a house that they can make a home. And it's cool because both the civilian and military individuals who are coming in, who are PCSing in, they might just get their orders and they are already, looking to, usually it's one of the other, individual in the family, the spouse or whoever is like, hey, we need to find a house, got our orders, let's roll. And that's what we're here for. We're kind of your boots on the ground, and we can look over the horizon for you and scope out all the areas. One of the things that I absolutely love doing is Facebook or Facebook? No, FaceTime. There's so many different things out there. So FaceTime, we'll walk through properties with individuals and give them really good insight to homes, and so you can see things out here. Because a lot of times on the internet or on the various different websites, you're not going to see everything. But to have somebody walking through the house is pretty cool. So we're here to assist, but we're definitely here to help out with all things housing.
All right. And how do folks get a hold of you or find you?
So we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all of those things. You can Google us and look at all of our reviews. And we're here, Bo Bloomer and the Checkmate Group, and looking forward to helping you out.
All right. And as a customer, I can 100% say that Bo is absolutely best in the business. Thanks, Bo.
Thanks so much, Robert. It was great working with you, and hopefully working with all the folks out there.
All right. Take care. Hey, old government guy Robert here, and I'm sitting down with Dr. Tim McWilliams, and I understand that you have maybe a funny story you'd like to share with us?
Well, I've got a few, not so much from my federal service, but definitely from my military service over the years. So recently, I had a VA doctor appointment related to what exposures have I had? I've been retired and out for so many years, but they wanted to know the exposures that I had. So I had to start from the beginning. So one story I told them was, well, yeah, I've had some toxic exposure, Fallujah, Iraq, burning tires, burning trash, all that stuff. But the one that stands out in my mind the most is we were freezing our bones off in Korea way back in 1982. And if you remember those episodes of MASH where everybody was bundled up, Korea is like that. And we didn't have all the cold weather gear, so we were cold. And we see this guy over there. He's standing next to a nice warm fire. So my buddy and I, we walk over there and we think we're going to warm up by this fire, and we start getting nice and cozy. And then we notice that the guy is the corpsman, and he has this big stick or pole or something like that. He starts stirring the barrel, and we're just like, why is he stirring this fire? Why is he pouring diesel into it and stirring it up? And then we realize, oh crap, that is the burn barrel from the outhouse. That's poop.
Literally, oh crap.
So we're like backed off and got out of there as fast as we could.
Oh, heck yeah.
And so you wanted a funny story.
That is a funny story. All right. Well, thanks for sharing that with us.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I hope your audience likes poop stories.
Poop stories. Who doesn't? That's right. Thanks, everybody. And thank you for listening to episode 11. Stick around after this word from Ambassador N and RV so you can hear a few more of our goofy outtakes as JB and I try to figure out, how to work a microphone. Thanks, everybody. And there you have it. We just wrapped up another episode of The Old Government Guys, a Rapid Point studio production. We're always on the lookout for new folks to highlight, so if you know someone who deserves to be recognized, let us know. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, we'd love to hear from you. please reach out and send us a note at OGG@rapidpointstudio.com. Old government guy Robert here. Just wanted to thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to like, follow, or subscribe, and make sure you tell a friend about the show. It's our goal to be your third favorite podcast, so keep the suggestions coming in as we work to mature our platform. And once again, thanks for tuning in. Hey, Robert here. If you find yourself traveling down I-40 in eastern Oklahoma and you need a quiet place for the night, stop in and see my friends Kelly and Jody at Ambassador's Inn and RV Park, where they aim to provide you three things: a clean room, your restful night's sleep, and probably a wacky story, because Kelly is full of them. But don't, and I repeat, do not let him tell you a joke. He's terrible at jokes. Kelly and Jody aim to provide a clean, quiet, uneventful stay. Ambassador's Inn and RV Park is an American-owned and operated small business where your peace and comfort are their top priority. You'll find Ambassador's Inn and RV Park at exit 278, where a safe and homely atmosphere awaits. Be sure and tell them the old government guy sent you. For more information, you can find Ambassador's Inn and RV on Facebook, or give them a call at 918-463-3727.
Hey, this is Joe Brown here. Started off.
Yeah, no, just because
I was like, I was about to say the same thing you did, but I'm a fellow employee. Man, whatever. How do I say that? Government careers.
Something like that. All right. Hello, I'm Robert Rushing, one of the old government guys. And I've got... This is why I need to write stuff down.
Yeah, write it down, man. Take your time.